We got the World Cup. I got them both. And I said, man, I won't be president. I won't be. I got the Olympics and the World Cup, and I won't be president. And they're going to forget that I got them. Nobody's going to mention it because, you know, a little bit, that's the way life is. And then they rigged the election. And then I said, you know what I'll do? I'll run again, and I'll shove it up their ass. And that's what I did. And all of a sudden, I then realized, I said, you know what? I got the Olympics, I got the World Cup, and I got the 250th. Look at the way this works out. So if they would have left us alone and wouldn't have cheated on the election and wouldn't have rigged it, I would have been retired right now. I would have been happily doing something else. And instead, they have me for 4 more years. Can you believe it? Wow, what a group. What a group this is. There's the great Steve Wynn. Hi, Steve. Hello, everybody. Hello. What a group of good friends. We're going to bring this place back. It's not so good. I thought it was going to be this beautiful. I hadn't been there in a while. I said, this is going to be beautiful. It's not looking too good. But we're going to bring it back. Why don't we sit down, tell you about our day. Should I tell you about the day first? Yeah. My little conversation with a nice gentleman named Vladimir Putin. But we had, actually, we had a good talk, and I think that progress is being made. 5,000 young soldiers are being killed every single week on average. Can you believe 5,000? And it's actually a number probably worse than that. And we're trying to stop it. It's a bloodbath. It's an absolute bloodbath. I've seen satellite pictures that are so bad, so horrible, and it's to think that in this day and age, we're living with this horrible thing that's going on, and we're doing the best we can. This was not our war. This was not me. We're doing something from the last administration, how they allowed that to happen. It wouldn't have happened. It would have never happened. And you know, the Ukraine-Russia wouldn't have happened, but I'll tell you what else wouldn't have had. October 7th would not have happened. This was a terrible thing also. A lot of bad things happened in the last 4 years. We had a tremendous visit in the Middle East, and we brought back about $5.1 trillion. That's not bad. That's not bad. And it's being credited as one of the, maybe the most successful visit that anybody's ever made to any place. There's never been anything like this. The AI is going wild. I hope it's as good as people say, because otherwise some people are going to be pretty disappointed. But massive orders into our country. We did 1.4 trillion in one case. We did 2 trillion in another case. Numbers that nobody's ever really heard of before. For the last 4 years have been a disaster for us with trade and, frankly, with everything else. So we're here for a different reason tonight. We're going to have to fix this one, too. We're fixing everything. We're going around Mr. Fix-It, Mrs. Fix-It. But the Kennedy Center, when I said I'll do this, I hadn't been there. That's the last time I'll take a job without looking at it. Lindsey Graham and some people put in the budget either 200 or $250 million. Money was spent there. Tremendous amounts of money was spent there over the last 10 years. I don't know where they spent it. They certainly didn't spend it on wallpaper, carpet, or painting. And they had over $200 million was spent. So I don't know what's going on. Pam, are you here? You hear that? Look, when I hear that, I say, what? Where, Pam, where did all this money go? It's crazy. It's crazy what's happened with our country in that regard. You know, it's to build things. Go back to the Wollman rink. They went for years, 12 years without getting a rink, and I got it built in 3 months for a fraction, like a tiny fraction. They had spent over $20 million. They never got it opened. I said, I want my kids to go ice skating before they're too old. They don't want to go ice skating anymore. I used to watch it from my window. I used to watch people, nobody working and spending money like crazy. And as you know, I got it built very quickly. This is well, maybe a more difficult. That was pretty easy, actually. We had cement mixers from the rink all the way back into Harlem. We poured one contiguous pour over a period of a day and a half. They would pour a little section, then another little section. And when they put water, it all leaked, surprisingly, you know. So it was fun, but I love construction. That's, I guess, why I like this a little, because we're going to have to redo it. This is an amazing board, I'll tell you. And I got so many calls from people, could I get on the board? You have a lot of people that are not so much in love with me right now because I couldn't get them on the board. And good. You know, we have the 250th year anniversary coming up. And, you know, some of the greatest sound are buildings built in the 1850s out of pure marble. And you get up and you can just talk lightly and they hear you back 100 rows. You hire sound engineers, they get a lot of money, and then you open the building and you can't hear anything. So, in fact, when I looked from a distance, you know, you see these like hubs, concrete hubs, and I thought it was modern art, you know. Well, here we go with the modern art blocking everybody's view. And when I actually went over there, I said, no, it wasn't modern art. It was meant for a door to be in, so you go down to these rooms. So I don't know what the hell they were doing, but they spent a lot of money. And it's just not possible that they could have spent it so poorly. But we're going to turn it around. That's what I love doing. I love turning things around. Turnaround artist. I'm doing that with the country. Believe me, we're doing it. We're doing a job. We are hot. We are hot. The country is hot. We in a short period. Look, we've been there for 100 days plus a few days, and as they said, the king of Saudi Arabia said, your place, your country is a whole different image now. We were a laughingstock, an absolute laughingstock, but we're not a laughingstock any longer. If you remember about 8 months ago, the big story was that nobody wants to join our military. We couldn't have any, people weren't joining. And now we have a record-setting enlistment in the military. Think of that, record-setting. The most in 38 years, but it's probably more than that. They started taking the numbers, Susie, 38 years ago, right? But the most in 30 years, probably the most ever, I don't know. But we were third in space, and now we're number one in space by a lot. We're especially pleased to be joined tonight by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, great guy. I'm telling you, he was born for this. He loves it. You see him, he's in one country, another country. I think he loves it. And I know how tough he is because I used to have to be up there with him. He was not nice. He was a tough one. He was as good as you get. I didn't know that we would end up being this close. We like each other. I think I can speak for him. I can speak for myself, but Attorney General Pam Bondi, who I've known so long, and she's married to the best-looking guy in the room, I must admit. And he was always there at 6 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning. You know, a lot of the stock guys, they have to do that. Someday you'll explain to me why. Probably insider trading, Pam. I don't know. It's probably. But whatever the hell reason, he was there always at 5:30 or 6 o'clock. And we've been hurt very badly by other countries that did this to us for 20, 25 years. They were taking advantage of us. We never did anything. But now we're doing it to them. Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, she's considered the most powerful woman anywhere in the world. She is. She's the most powerful woman in the world. A lot of people are saying that, but she had a couple of articles, and I said, you know, it's actually true. She can wipe out a country with just a mere phone call. Think of it. That's the end of the country. But she's great. So we won in a landslide. I said, good. Then the next time I won again in a much bigger landslide. And anybody I endorsed also won. And I said, that's good. And then when it came time to do this, after the election was rigged, the second one was rigged, whether you like it or not, it was rigged like nobody's ever seen. And now people are seeing it. Now people don't even fight me. You know, they used to say, sir, it's not really that nice to say. I'm an honest, it was rigged, and unfortunately that's what happened. You look at some of the things that happened, all of these things would have never happened. But that tells me, you know, because I'm a big believer in the genes, person's genes. And all my life I've watched politicians screaming, we will cut your taxes. This is the only group where they say we're going to raise your taxes and they think they're going to win. There's something wrong with them. I don't know what the hell is going on. We're going to raise your taxes. And people say, that's strange. I've never heard it before. When we took over in recent months, the Kennedy Center was in dire shape. As I saw on my tour a few weeks ago, the building is falling apart. I don't want to scare people. It's in fine shape, but it's falling apart. That means the programming was out of control with rampant political propaganda, DEI, and inappropriate shows. We had some very inappropriate shows, to put it very nicely. They had dance parties for, quote, queer and trans youth. And I guess that's all right for certain people, quote. And I'm just quoting, I'm not saying it. Queer and trans youth. That wasn't working out too well. Who thinks of these ideas, really? It's different. It's different. Oh, we're bringing our country back so fast. The Kennedy Center will also play an important role in our national celebration to commemorate the 250th anniversary of America's founding. So we have three really big. We have that. We have the 250th anniversary of America's founding. That's a big deal. And we have the Olympics, and we have the World Cup. And, you know, maybe I got lucky because I got the Olympics and I got the World Cup. I did nothing to help the 250th anniversary because if I take credit for that one, then you'll say, I think he's exaggerating a little. But two of the three, I absolutely, I got the Olympics, I got the World Cup. And I said to myself when I got them, it was my first term I got them, President Obama would not take the calls from the Olympic Committee, refused to take the calls. And I think because he traveled to Oslo or wherever he went, and very far away, in order to get the Olympics, previous Olympics. And I said, well, that's great. That means we got it, because what president would travel to come in fourth place, which is what we came in, fourth place. And so he was so angry he wouldn't take the call. So I got a call from, at the time, the mayor of Los Angeles. Los Angeles is not looking too good with what the water. We just sent so much water down their way. They didn't want to take it because it was bad for the environment. I said, no, water's good for the environment. If they would have had it when I told them to get it, they wouldn't have had the fires, or it would have been very small. But we took so much, and we were looking at the Olympics. We were looking at other things, and Obama went there, and all that travel, all that everything. And think, who would go there unless you know the answer? You have to know the answer. You can't be embarrassed as president. No president's ever done that. And I give him credit. He went, but he should have known the answer. That's called deal making. And he didn't, and they put him at fourth, and he was so angry that it hurt his whole thing. He didn't want to talk to anybody. So I got a call from the mayor, and he said, sir, you're the president-elect. I was president-elect at the time. The president will not speak to the Olympic Committee, and I understand that, but a little bit his fault, I guess. He was very embarrassed by that. And I said, I'll speak to him. And I spoke to this gentleman who was obviously Scandinavian, seriously Scandinavian, and very nice. I couldn't get him off the phone because he was so starved for love. He just kept, I must have had him for 2 hours. I couldn't. I said, sir, I have to go. I'm president-elect. Yes. All I said to him, yes, 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 we will take good care. They wanted to know that if they choose us for the Olympics, will we treat them nicely? And I said, we're going to treat you like so well, like you've never been treated. And then he wanted to talk about anything because nobody would talk to him. Now he talks to me. And we got the Olympics. And then we got through Johnny, who's the boss. He's a friend of mine. We got the World Cup. I got them both. And I said, man, I won't be president. I got the Olympics and the World Cup, and I won't be president. And they're going to forget that I got them. Nobody's going to mention it because, you know, a little bit, that's the way life is. And then they rigged the election. And then I said, you know what I'll do? I'll run again, and I'll shove it up their ass. And that's what I did. And all of a sudden, I then realized, I said, you know what? I got the Olympics, I got the World Cup, and I got the 250th. Look at the way this works out. So if they would have left us alone and wouldn't have cheated on the election and wouldn't have rigged it, I would have been retired right now. I would have been happily doing something else. And instead, they have me for 4 more years. Can you believe it? Yeah. So it has it. Just like we have a hot country. You know, we have a hot country. Our country was stone cold 8 months ago. It all began on November 5th. Does everybody know that was election day? And groceries are way down. Eggs. Remember, they hit me with eggs my first week. Sir, the fake news, those people right there, they're saying, sir, eggs have gone through the roof. They were doubling and tripling eggs. I said, I don't know. I've just got here. Excuse me. I want to thank you. Again, we're going to have some fun working together. We're going to make this a fun project. That's what I thought until I walked into the building. I said, this won't be the fun I thought, but it is fun. I like to create. We'll have a little fun tonight. And you know what they can do? If they can, relatively quietly, they can start serving the meal So by the time we're all finished, we get the hell out of here, we go home, and we have our...
It's an honor to be a part of this tonight for a few moments because you have an opportunity here. You know, the Kennedy Center is a showcase of American excellence in arts and culture, and that's what it needs to be again. And the work that Rick and his team are doing, both to bring the building and the actual function of the organization to reflect that, but the programming is the other thing. We're really excited to see the programming, the shows that are coming, that will be a highlight of American excellence and of American culture and American entertainment.